Thank you so much. Brilliant. So welcome everybody, a warm welcome to all of you. I think we're seeing the many participants that have registered for this event now slowly coming into the room. So I want to say a good day to everybody. Wherever you are, we have people attending from all over the world, or at least that was in the registration. So we're really thrilled that you're all interested in participating in this virtual launch for the InTex project on innovative business practices and economic models in the textile value chain. This is a project funded by the European Commission and implemented by the UN Environment Programme. So I think we're seeing now the number of participants is rising. So yes, let's move to have a quick overview of the program, which, as you can see, is packed. Well, maybe I should have introduced myself. My name is Llorenç Milà i Canals. I work in UNEP on lifecycle approaches, leading the lifecycle team, and I will be moderating today's event. So you will be hearing from me. We will start, as you will see, with a very short introduction by UNEP, Elisa Tonda, and by the European Commission with Emmanuel Mer. Then we will go over some of the interventions and quick introductions from the representatives of the 3 African countries where the InTex project is being implemented. That's Tunisia, Kenya, and South Africa. And then we will move to a panel discussion with the implementing partners of each of the 3 countries, as well as the European Commission and the African Development Bank. It's a Fashionomics program. So during the panel, there will also be the opportunity for all of you to ask questions, all of you as in the audience. So please have your questions ready for the panelists. We will then end the event with a few concluding remarks. So before I hand over to the next, to the first speaker, actually, if we can move to the next slide, it's just to remind you that you can ask your questions in the Q&A box. So please post them there, and we will then read them out. Well, hopefully we will be reading a selection of the questions during the panel. Please bear with us if due to the limited time, we will not be able to ask all the questions, but they will all be recorded. So hopefully some way or another, we can come back to you. And yes, just as we can foresee that the question will appear, the slides and the recording will be made available after the event. So now, without further ado, it will be my pleasure to introduce you to my colleague, Ms. Elisa Tonda, head of UNEP's Consumption and Production Unit, who will introduce the project and the work in UNEP on sustainability in the textile sector. Elisa will be followed right away by Emmanuel Mer, the head from the Sustainable Production, Products and Consumption Unit at DG Environment in the European Commission. So now, yes, Elisa, the floor is yours. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Llorenç, and good day to everybody. And I'm really very pleased to be here welcoming you all today to the launch of the InTex project, which, as you have discovered from the first slide, stands for Innovative Business Practices and Economic Models in the Textile Value Chain. You may have discovered already while we use the wording InTex, as it's much more practical to refer to this project. But prior to diving a little bit deeper into some elements of this project, I would really want to start by welcoming and thanking the European Commission for their continued leadership and support in this area of work. And if we could go to the next slide, I just want to give a little bit of a context of where this project plugs in the work that UNEP is doing. And the work that UNEP is doing is really very much centered around the idea of building more circularity and more sustainability across value chains, and particularly what we will be discussing today is the textile value chain. And using an approach that includes the whole value chain is proving for us particularly effective to be able to translate a lot of the scientific knowledge and data that our organization, but also other organizations, are developing into very concrete recommendations for policies and for actions that can be taken on the ground. And we have started to elaborate a little bit more on this direction with a first report that was published in the year 2020, and you see the cover of this report in the slide. That report helped us to understand what the textile value chain looks like, and also understand where the major impact of the value chain lie across this whole production and consumption system. And you might hear them being referred to as the hotspot in the textile value chain going on in our session. This report also helped us map all the excellent work that is already happening across the textile value chain, but also shed light on where gaps and needs exist to further operate into that system. And we're actually building specifically on these dimensions of gaps and needs in an upcoming report that will be published very soon, which is a roadmap for a sustainable and circular textile value chain, within which we have actually outlined specific action that need to be taken by different stakeholders, be them governments, brands, producers, including SMEs, but also other actors, that those actors need to take to transform this system into a sustainable and circular one. And all this process, all this thinking, everything that you will see in the past and in the future report is really informed by consultation across a broad group of stakeholders. And currently, more than 300 experts are really supporting us in thinking through how to transform the textile value chain. And you will see in the next slide, as soon as it comes up, that our vision is really to create a circular system, which is probably relatively different from the representation of the value chain that we have today, a system in which we keep resources in the economy for as long as possible to the highest possible economic value. And in the first report, we have actually started to highlight 3 broad areas where we really needed to concentrate our attention going forward. And you see them represented in the slide as well. One area is an area that really looks into stronger governance and policies that would enable us to level the playing field, but also will enable us to ensure that the transformation that needs to happen from a linear system to a circular one is a just and an inclusive one. The second area of focus is around collaboration and finance. And collaboration is specifically thought as an opportunity to bring together all the different actors of the textile value chain and ensure that really no one is left behind in transforming themselves towards actors in a circular system. And their specific attention is also to the more vulnerable actors that might be affected by this transformation, including potentially small and medium-sized enterprises, but also looking into finance, access to finance to make sure that the transformation to circularity really becomes reality. And a third set of actions look into how we can create the right condition for consumption choices to be more aligned to our vision of a circular and sustainable system, and therefore rewarding those business model and those business behavior that are circular and are heading towards a lower impact on the environment. And please do expect the next report that is really due to come up very soon, because all of these elements will be further detailed into very concrete actions that can be taken by the different actors in the textile value chain. Now, the next step is how this InTex project connects with this broad research. And as you will see, it connects it at different level. On one side, the project will strengthen our global understanding of the textile value chain, but not only, it will prove what is needed to ensure the implementation, the transformation that we're discussing happening also at country level. And it will really very specifically work with government and businesses to promote and adopt innovative sustainable business models that are based on life cycle based evidence. And maybe just to remind that we will keep in the scope of our work in the context of this project, not only the environmental dimension, but also the social implications that will be associated with the transformation, with the shift towards a more sustainable and circular value chain. So in these slides, you will see briefly the 5 components of the project. Those 5 components of the project are 2 focusing on a global level and 3 focusing on national level. The 2 global components are specifically geared at strengthening global knowledge on the textile value chain through increased access and interoperability of lifecycle data. And this is achieved by strengthening a platform which is called GLAD, that stands for Global LCA Data Access Network, but also to strengthen the evidence of the environmental and socio-economic benefits that are associated with the shift from a linear to a circular and more sustainable textile value chain. And 3 components of this project will focus on activities happening in countries, and more specifically in 3 countries in Africa: Kenya, South Africa, and Tunisia. And you will hear more and directly from the partners that will be working with us in those countries what will happen at country level. But really the core of the intervention will be around helping small and medium-sized enterprises transforming or strengthening their business model in collaboration with the other actors of the value chain, building on the eco-innovation approach developed by UNEP, and measuring their product environmental footprints in line with the EU methodology, but also closely working with governments to create the enabling policies that will really strengthen the transformation and the opportunities towards circularity. Needless to say that those results will also be instrumental to inform our global rebel work. So I'll just conclude by thanking again all of those who have joined the session of today, looking forward to the discussion that will happen, but also to strengthening partnerships with all of you that are working in this area. And I'll directly pass the floor to Emmanuel Mer, who is heading the Sustainable Production, Product and Consumption Unit at the Directorate General for the Environment at the European Commission. Emmanuel, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Elisa, and good morning from Brussels to all colleagues around the world. It's a real pleasure to be with you today for this exciting launch, to get the opportunity to be with you and to learn from you and to connect ahead of this adventure. And I would like to stress that InTex came naturally in the context of the very good cooperation we have with UNEP, and the fact that the European Union is really a strong supporter of multilateralism, especially in the field of environmental governance. And so focusing on textile made really a lot of sense to us, because it is an important sector of the economy and of the society. I mean, this is now one of the largest sector, global industry. And when I look at the figures, it's quite amazing. I mean, the sales value is estimated at over $2.5 trillion US. Annually, the industry produces approximately 80 billion garments and directly employs 60 to 75 million people worldwide, with a big majority being women. What we see as well is that the impacts in terms of greenhouse gas emissions are really important: 3.3 billion metric tons of CO2 equivalent annually. And within the European Union, the sector is also extremely important. It employs 1.5 million people, and we have more than 160,000 companies most of which are SMEs. What we see is that the sector has been heavily hit by the COVID outbreak. We see a drop in the production and considerable disruption of textiles supply chains. In Europe, obviously, with the shutdown of retail outlets, we see that there has been a drop of 25% of the retail sales in textiles, clothing, footwear, or leather. So in the political agenda at the European Union level, textile has been identified as part of key priorities, which we call the European Green Deal and the new Circular Economy Action Plan, which was adopted last year in March, with a big support from the 27 member states of the European Parliament, of the member states, the support of the European Parliament, but also regions across Europe and stakeholders. In that context, textile is really seen as a sector with a huge potential for circularity, and the European Union will be adopting its strategy towards the end of the year to make textiles more circular. And so it will obviously connect very much with the initiative from UN Environment to have this global roadmap. More specifically on the objective of the InTex project, I mean, it is to increase the understanding and the uptake of circular approaches and eco-innovation by textiles businesses, especially SMEs and governments. And we think this is really a key opportunity to promote a life cycle approach, be it at European Union level or at international level. So having this approach of looking at the entirety of the impacts from the extraction of materials to the end of a product is extremely important, and we really look forward to learn from the experience from the 3 African countries that were selected for that project, from Kenya, South Africa, and Tunisia, on how it helps to identify and strengthen eco-innovation and circularity policy. So we are really, again, very excited about the launch of InTex, and happy to be with you today and to connect through the Zoom or the video meetings that we have today, and hopefully at a certain point in real. So thanks a lot for that.
Thank you so much, Emmanuel, and thank you, Elisa, as well, for your enlightening context setting and the plans for the textile sector and its circularity. So now we will shift to the second part of this launch with hearing about the target countries in the project and the context of the textile sector and sustainable consumption and production in this sector. So first, let me introduce you to Mr. Fred Simiyu, who is the Acting Director of the Research and Trade Policy Analysis Department within the Ministry of Industrialization, Trade and Enterprise Development in Kenya. So, Mr. Simiyu, please, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much. I am delighted to be part of this launch of the Textile Index project. Can I continue?
Yes, please go ahead. Thank you, Mr. Simiyu.
To read the speech.
Yes, please go ahead. We hear you well. Thank you.
Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to give my brief during the launch. My name is, as you have heard, Fred Simiyu from the Ministry of Industrialization, Trade and Enterprise Development, Kenya. I would like to take this opportunity to convey the appreciation and support of this project by my Cabinet Secretary, Ministry of Industrialization, Trade and Enterprise Development, and the principal secretaries of the two state departments of Industrialization and Trade. The Ministry of Industrialization, Trade and Enterprise Development has a strategic, comprehensive, and integrated program in place that seeks to guide Kenya on its journey to industrialization. The program is guided by Kenya Vision 2030, the country's economic development blueprint that aims to transform Kenya into a newly industrializing middle-income economy by providing a high quality of life to its citizens by 2030. The objective of the economic pillar of Vision 2030 is to create a robust, diversified, and competitive manufacturing sector in 3 ways: boosting local production, expanding the regional market, taking advantage of the global market needs. To realize these 2 out of 5-point strategy indicated are launching sector-specific sustainable manufacturing flagship projects, where the textile industry is a major pillar. 2, development of Kenyan small and medium enterprises. Therefore, the project UNEP InTex, which aims at promoting innovative business practices and economic models in the textile value chain for SMEs in Kenya, could not have come at a better time. Eco-innovation will assist SMEs to develop and diversify by adopting sustainable business models, which will reduce adverse social environmental impact, making them more resilient and competitive. This is the impetus that SMEs in our country need, especially during global struggle with effects of coronavirus pandemic, which has disrupted economies. Through this initiative, textile SMEs in Kenya will be able to stay ahead of the standards and the regulations for exports, and be able to access new and emerging markets, since the global consumer is constantly demanding products from farms that are environmentally and socially responsible, capable of attracting foreign investment, especially through Kenya Green Bond Program, and increase productivity and profitability along the entire value chain. This project resonates well with the broad objectives of our country's development blueprint and the desire to have a green economy. Indeed, Kenya, like other countries in the world, is implementing sustainable development and embracing eco-friendly technologies. In order to enhance efficiency in the use of natural resources and energy, the industrial sectors embraced greener production technologies through technical assistance from Kenya National Greener Production Center, among other stakeholders. The center has built the capacity of industries in improving efficiency in its status of production systems in order to reduce wastage of raw materials and energy, aimed at minimizing waste generation at source. Kenya Industrial Research and Development Institute, the National Environmental Management Authority, are also currently involved in Project Greening Kenya, stimulating industrial competitiveness and investments in the face of resource scarcity and climate change. Founded by UNEP, that targets Kenya's special economic zones, export processing zones, industrial parks, and their surrounding community. Moi University has also been collaborating with CETA projects to promote use of natural dyes on textiles. Those are just but a few of the projects currently ongoing to promote greener production technologies in enterprises. Therefore, greener initiatives are tending towards a quantum leap across the public and private sectors of the Kenyan economy. Hence, it's important that greener economy be embraced at all levels, aimed at reducing individual carbon footprint in order to uphold sustainability, especially by SMEs, which contribute approximately 40% of the Kenya's GDP and accounts for more than 85% of Kenya's employment. Ministry of Industrialization, Trade and Enterprise Development, which is chair of the National Steering Committee for the InTex project in Kenya, wishes to sincerely thank UNEP and EU for choosing Kenya to implement this timely project and for selecting more universities as the technical intermediary in the country. The ministry also wishes to thank SME Advisory Unit, Office of the President, Kenya Industrial Research and Development Institute, Export Processing Zones, National Industrial Training Authority, African Center for Technology Studies, Technical University of Kenya, among other stakeholders, for teaming up with more universities to ensure successful implementation of outputs of these projects. We as a ministry will
many thanks. I think sorry to interrupt, Mr. Simiyu. I think we need to be wrapping up because we still have a lot of speakers to go through and we have limited time.
We as a ministry will offer, it's our final, I'm finalizing. Huh?
Okay.
We as a ministry will offer our support during the completion of the project to ensure that practice of life cycle thinking and circularity is entrenched in the relevant policies successfully implemented. Once again, I say thank you. And
thank you so much, Mr. Simiyu. Thanks, Fred, for your words and the context and of this big consortium that is working in Kenya to make this project come true. So I will have to ask, and apologies for interrupting, but we will have to ask all speakers also to keep their interventions very short because we have very limited time and we want to cover a lot of ground. So let's move straight ahead to the tip of the continent. And we have Mr. Mahendra Shunmugam, I hope I pronounce it correctly, who is the Director for Policy Implementation at the Department of Trade, Industry and Competition of the Government of South Africa. So Mahendra, over to you. Thank you.
Good morning. Thanks, and thanks for selecting South Africa as a participant country in this project. We're very excited to be coordinating our approach and working towards sustainability and circularity in the textile industry. As you're aware, in 2016, South Africa ratified the Paris Agreement. And in 2019, we focused specifically on a stakeholder sector master plan, which looks at the clothing, textile, footwear, and leather industry. This industry for us is a strategic industry within our republic as it employs a large number of people. It also contributes to our GDP quite significantly. And we've seen it as a strategic component to address the triple challenges of poverty, inequality, and unemployment. So working with the United Nations project provides us an opportunity to develop the sector in a sustainable pathway aligned to a national development program, and also the President's Commission on Climate Change, which is currently focused on the just transition pathway. Across the value chains in South Africa, we are focused on sustainability and moving into adopting and implementing the agreements of the Paris Agreement objectives. And the InTex project provides us an opportune environment for us to focus this in the textile industry. Briefly, I will give you an overview of what we're currently doing and working with our partner agency, the National Clean Production Center, who are also panelists on this discussion today. They will be helping us implement the InTex project. The Clothing, Textile, Footwear and Leather Master Plan focuses on bringing stakeholders and key stakeholders in this value chain to the negotiating table and focusing our energies to ensuring a development of the industry and the sector, and to create the necessary adjustment and transitions, while at the same time bringing about the reality of improved social economic development for our citizens. Looking at this project, when it was first advertised, we saw the alignment with the work of the master plan as we are trying to ensure the textile development and the value chain in general, the CTL sector, focuses on sustainability and improvement of the components of the previous value chain's business operations. So we're excited to join this project as key partners, and we're hoping to see the value chain adjust to the overarching goals of the InTex project. We're also working with UNIDO on a similar project, and we are hoping to combine the energies and the synergies that we find to the InTex project, that we bring about circularity more profoundly within South Africa. When this project was first advertised, we had discussions and roundtables with our sister departments in the Department of Environmental Affairs and the Mineral Resources and the Department of Science and Innovation, and tried to bring about a circularity master plan, a sector master plan. Our sister departments are currently working on it, and our Minister of Environmental Affairs have also very strongly recommended that we focus our energies and industrial policy towards sustainability and the future of work that will come with the disruptions if we do not align ourselves to the projections of climate change and mitigation that's necessary. So thank you again for selecting us. I'm happy to engage further and provide more input on the South African angle of how we try to implement this project. My partner agency and colleague on the call will give you a more overview of the specifics of the details of the project and how we plan to implement it, but I'm happy to pick up on questions later on in the discussion. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mahendra, and thank you for sticking to time. That was super comprehensive and great to see that there's so many departments as well, and stakeholders are already jumping on board. So now we move from south to north, and we will turn to Tunisia with Mrs. Rim Jelassi, who is the General Coordinator of the Tunisian Textile and Clothing Federation. Mrs. Jelassi, please, over to you. There we go. Now we can see you. Brilliant. And we can hear you. Please go ahead.
Okay. Thank you. I'm very pleased to participate in this launch workshop. We thank you for particular attention paid to the Tunisian textile sector, and we would like to express our grateful for the selection of the Tunisian Textile and Garment Federation as a stakeholder in this ambitious project. Already considered to be the first manufacturing sector in Tunisia in terms of employment, with 160,000 jobs, and we count around 1,600 enterprises. I would like to begin by summarizing the Tunisian textile and clothing sector advantages. We are well known for our strong know-how, different fields of textile, high expertise in R&D, high responsiveness, different fields of textile, high expertise in R&D. And we have a wide experience in fabric and accessory sourcing and a wide customization possibilities. Also, the companies with international, the exporting companies are compliant with international standards, ISO, Fairtrade, Ecotex, Ecolabel Goats, and JRS. Also, we notify that main certifying and control organizations are present in Tunisia, such as CEST, Intertech, UL, RENA, etc. I would like to notify that we are taking care of the well-being and safety of our employee. The respect for social standard and labor regulation are among the fundamental commitment of Tunisian textile and clothing industry. By the way, Tunisian textile companies invest in new technologies to guarantee industry performance. The main lines of the national strategy for textile sector adopted since 2000 is to reinforce the competitiveness and are oriented towards reinforcing the capability of enterprises to adapt to the market requirements and the reinforcement of textile value chain and promotion of innovative activities, enhancement of competencies, services, and infrastructures. Moreover, we are aware of the environmental stakes, pollution, global warming, energy, and we are strongly committed to preserving the future of our planet and children. In fact, environmental protection, water and energy saving and renewable energies are the heart of Tunisian textile and clothes companies' concerns. In Tunisia, we are committed to sustainable development, eco-environment friendly technologies and solutions, renewable energy, recycling water treatment, and campaigning against water waste. The textile industry is committed for sustainable future. We support our partners to meet the requirements of customers who seek to support environmental actions. We find that the key objective of the current project, InTex, align perfectly with our principle and ambition. Adapting the new environmental challenges will be reflected in the new environment awareness culture among the actors and meeting productivity challenges in full respect of the planet. We will do our best to ensure the success of this project and to reach the expected goals. Thank you for your attention.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Rim, for sticking to time. That was super helpful, and that also helped to provide or to finish with this great scene setting on the countries that InTex will be implemented in. So now we will be getting into the more interactive part of the webinar today. We have 20 minutes left, so we will also keep being pressed for time. And we have a panel, as you will see in the following slide, which is formed by the InTex implementing partners, plus two key actors, as the European Commission, as we've heard of, and the African Development Bank. So I will now briefly introduce each one of the panelists, starting with reintroducing Emmanuel Mer, head of the Sustainable Production, Products and Consumption Unit from the European Commission. Yeah, I think we will be seeing each one of the panelists joining with their cameras. So welcome again, Emmanuel. I also introduce Emanuela Gregorio from Fashionomics Africa Coordinator for the African Development Bank. Welcome, Emanuela, and welcome to the panel. For the InTex project partners, we will have Leander Reuters from the NCPC South Africa, and he was kind of already introduced, the NCPC, the National Cleaner Production Center for South Africa. A pleasure to see you, Leander. Josephat Masiaki, professor at the Kenya's Moi University, also very welcome, professor. And last but not least, of course, we have Nawel Mejri, the Director for Business Support at CETET, the Tunis International Center for Environmental Technologies in Tunisia. Welcome as well to the panel, Mrs. Mejri. So, as we're pressed for time, we will be starting with the first round of questions for each one of the panelists, while we are also gathering questions from the audience. So please keep them short if you type them. And I also kindly ask that all of the panelists keep your interventions short. So Madame Mejri, Nawel, as you were introduced last, I will give you the first question. What makes you excited about bringing forward the eco-innovation and life cycle thinking in textiles in your country?
Hello. First of all, it's a great pleasure to join you all to the InTex launch event. And I want to address a special thanks for UNEP and European Union for giving us the opportunity to participate and benefit from this project. By the way, let me express again my deepest thanks to our local partners, FTTH, CETEX, and MFCPOL. Let me give you a brief introduction of our institution, CETET. In fact, CETET is a governmental institution under the authority of the Ministry of Environment and Sustainable Development. It aims to provide help in strengthening skills and capacities building in protecting the environment, managing natural resources, and mastering environmentally friendly technology. Regarding the answer to your question, you certainly agree with us that the textile value chain is the main source of our country's environmental pollution, greenhouse gas depletion of energy and water resources, use of toxic chemical, water and oil pollution, etc. All those impacts are exerting strong pressure on the environment. And being a strategic industry for the Tunisian economy, this sector impacts need to be addressed by adopting an innovative and sustainable approach that prevents environmental damages and enhances economic gains. So introducing eco-innovation option in the textile sector in Tunisia will be an opportunity for technological improvement, better management practices, and cultural promotion of sustainable production and consumption. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Noel. That was very clear. So, and perhaps also, what do you think? I mean, do you think that the product environmental footprint as one of the approaches can be scaled up in Tunisia? What is the future, and what can it do for the national economy?
We think that regarding this field, we think that scaling PAF initiative will drive to supply chain optimization and can put most attention on the sector-specific harmonization, which causes cross-sectoral issues as data management and positive supply chain interaction. In fact, PAF and eco-innovation approach will not only benefit to the ecology, they also save costs for the sectors and make their products more competitive. We think that this project will lead to sustainable and consumption culture in textile processing industry and prevention under different implementation scenarios of selected eco-innovation options.
Excellent. Thank you so much. That was enlightening. So maybe let's move now to Kenya. So Josephat, Professor Josephat, if I may, let us continue with you. Value chain collaboration is crucial to eco-innovation and circularity. How do you see the partners that you have on board in Kenya adding value already to the InTex project? And do you have everybody that is needed? And I will also address this question to you, Leander. So that's just a heads up.
Thank you, Lawrence, and thank you very much, UNEP, for this chance to be able to work with us. In Kenya, we have partners. I will classify them into two, mainly national and global. Now, Dr. Fred has already mentioned about the national partners. The Ministry of Trade is very important in this case. Then we have the EPZA, Export Processing Zone. Then we have the Kenya National Chamber of Commerce and Industry. We have Kiridi, so on and so forth. Now, these are the local partners. They are really going to be adding value. Like Kiridi has been working with UNEP about greening Kenya. So we're going to have a lot of synergy in that line. I will also want to mention African Center for Technology Studies, which will be helping us with the policy studies. We also have a center or a partner who is international but is working locally. This partner is called SITA, S-I-T-A. This partner is funded by International Trade Center. They have done a great work with us. They have worked with us with lesser natural dyes. They have worked with some industries whereby they have been working on zero emissions. So these partners will be going to add a lot of value. But do we have enough? The textile industry is complex, so I will say we still need more. We need help from people that have experience in this line, maybe from UNEP or from maybe UNIDO. So we still need help here and there. Thank you.
Excellent, thank you, and thanks for keeping it short. Leander, and also perhaps also on behalf of the NCPC, but also of CARES as the other partner that unfortunately couldn't join us here today for personal reasons. But in South Africa, again, what are your views in terms of the role of partnerships and who do we have involved?
Thank you, Jorens, and also just to reiterate what the other panelists said. Thank you for having this project and making us part of this. I think what just to touch on what my colleague Mahendra mentioned earlier, we've been through quite an extensive process of mapping the value chain of the sector within South Africa, and that process was quite intensive in the sense that a lot of the partners that we've identified for InTex project has played a big role in giving inputs into the mapping of the value chain and understanding the challenges and the risks, as well as the opportunities as we move into also transitioning towards circular economy practices and green economy. So building on that, we've seen that nationally with the of course driving it by the Department of Trade, Industry and Competition, the focus and as well the big drive towards innovation is identified as quite critical. But there's been key partners throughout that process, like for instance the Textile Federation, that has played a big role in shaping the understanding within the textile part of the broader master plan. We've gone through the process of also identifying partners that also plays an important role in the research and policy space. We, of course, are part of the Council of Scientific and Industrial Research, the CSIR, but we're also working closely with an organization called TIPS, which is short for Trade and Industrial Policy Strategies, and there's been lots of work done in terms of understanding the textile sector and mapping the risks and opportunities as we transition to a circular and green economy. From a SME networks perspective, I mean, we've heard earlier how big the sector is in South Africa. Contribution to our GDP is quite significant. But we find that there are many organizations that supports SME development and innovation, capacity building, and these organizations have, and I think we're quite fortunate that many of these organizations have already indicated their support for the InTex project. And here we talk about organizations like Indalo Inclusive, who is also quite active on the space of eco-inclusive SME development, organizations like Innovation Hub. At one of the technical universities, we also have the Clothing and Textile Technology Station. And in addition to organizations like the Fashion Lab and organizations that have played a major part in introducing innovative concepts within the sector, we believe that there's a great opportunity for all of the different actors and partners to contribute to this exciting initiative, to continue and to build on what we've set out in the policy, but also to further develop the application of life cycle thinking and management within the sector.
Many things. That's very useful, and perhaps also for, well, either you or Josephat, could you complement that from the perspective of the international partnerships, and specifically the role of European multinational brands, for instance?
I don't know whether I start. Okay, thank you. The multinational come in a very important way. For example, if I just take a simple picture, cotton might be grown in the US, exported to China, where it is made into a fabric. Then it is brought back to Kenya, where it is processed in the EPZA. Then from there, it is shipped to US. And then it is shipped back to Kenya as second-hand cloth. So you can see the multinationals, wherever they are, if they are buying the cloth, if they are buying the fabric, they come in a very important way. Now, that is one part. The other part is that we have the multinational companies or the maybe NGOs that are working in a manner trying to ensure that we let's say, use energy and resources in a very sustainable way. So we have people like, of course, UNEP. We'll definitely need to get help from them, experience from them. We also have people that have done very well, maybe in areas like in India. I was reading that they're having zero emission in a whole area, whereby textile factories are now able to put all their effluent together and they're able to get clean water. So we need help from all those multinationals.
Excellent. That was very useful. Thank you so much. So let's move on because we're running short of time, and I will come to Emmanuel from the European Commission. So well, we've heard already a little bit about the potential role, well, certainly of the the approaches in the European Commission and what the pressures, the requests for information, but also of the role of potential big companies, perhaps from Europe. So how do you see the results of the InTex project in terms of eco-innovation, life cycle thinking, the product environmental footprint method? How do you see these results informing the EU's ongoing work on sustainable textiles?
Thank you, Lawrence. As I said in the introduction, the big political focus at the level of the European Union at this point in time is to reach climate neutrality by 2050. So the President of the European Commission really placed a big emphasis on the Green Deal and on mobilizing industry to get the circular economy. So we will be pressing also with legislation at European Union level, to support the circular economy, to have more sustainable products being placed on the European Union market, to support consumers that want to buy green. And this means a revolution in many sectors, also in the textile industry, because we know that textile is extremely important. We cannot move to a circular economy in the European Union on our own. We need to do this collectively with stakeholders within the European Union, but to be strongly connected with third countries, with policymakers, governments, and companies. I think that big companies and smaller companies also realize that they need to invest in green, that this gives a competitive advantage. And one of the key issues is always to check, what does it mean, green? And if you want to have a scientific approach to this, you need to look, at the impacts in terms of climate change, but you cannot, hide the impacts on toxicity on water. So you really need to have this comprehensive assessment of the impact. We need to bring more knowledge among, governments, and in that I include also myself because I'm learning every day. But also among companies, especially SMEs, be it in Europe or outside, on how do we do this? How do we speak the same language in terms of assessing the impacts? How do we communicate on these impacts ultimately? And at European Union level, there are, companies who are investing in the development of, specific category rules to calculate the impact of textiles. This is work in progress, and we don't want to have this being developed in the European Union, disconnected from what is being done at UN level with GLAD, and disconnected from, the sectors which are extremely important. We have heard it very well from Kenya, Tunisia, and South Africa. So what we would like to achieve with this project is a very concrete community working together to make sustainable textiles the norm with practical experience. And this is obviously easier said than done. We know that we have a lot of work ahead, but we think this is really, good value for money, that this is a collective project that we can carry out, building on the strengths of different economies and building with the UN Environment Programme. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Emmanuel. That's a very nice vision, I think, of making things better and making them all together. So that sounds great. Now, turning to Emanuela, and sorry that we have kept you silent for a long time, but the African Development Bank has a lot of experience in helping SMEs in particular, and we've heard a lot about SMEs being a significant share, particularly in the textile sector. of course, the experience in the African Development Bank is also in helping SMEs reach commercial viability through innovative business models and strategies. What lessons have you learned, and what good practices we can carry through this project in InTex?
Thank you, Lawrence, and thank you again, UNEP team, for inviting us here today. As some of you know, we have been working with UNEP since almost the beginning of this initiative. We have been working on Fashionomics Africa since 2015. Our management really pushed us to apply our minds and see and look at non-mainstream sectors for development institutions like ours to see how we can stimulate job creation, and especially skilled and non-skilled jobs for African youth that are entering the labor market where formal jobs are not available. But also because we see this industry, the textile and fashion industry, as an industry that can be, if geared towards exports, is a source of foreign exchange, and there are several spillovers, positive spillovers for African economies. Also, something that we need to say is that the transition to green growth has always been part of our mandate in terms of supporting African economies. And I guess many of you know that the bank, together with WEF, the World Economic Forum, and also the government of Denmark, we are hosting the Secretariat for the African Circular Economy Alliance. And there also we have identified, as there is a report that just came out, the 5 big bets for circular economy on the continent. Fashion and textile is one of those, which is in line with our Fashionomics Africa program. So sustainability has always been at the heart of our vision. And what I can share with you is that what is important, and also this is something that we're going to work together, the UNEP team, for the InTex project, because we really want to find synergies in everything that we do together with UNEP, is to have an ecosystem approach. Not having standalone activities, but really look at the bigger picture. Education is key, of course. So we have been working with UNEP in training fashion entrepreneurs and businesses in already starting in inculcating in their business models at the business plan development, circular economy actions and sustainability and ethical sourcing. And also, of course, do so at the project design stage of their garments. So we are working with those that have the expertise, like UNEP, to share this information and awareness. But also, it's important what we realize that many of them have the skills, many of them already have sustainable products to put in the market, but they don't have access to market. So access to local, regional, international markets is key for them to have a clientele that helps them to have a revenue, because without a revenue, there's no business, right? So, for example, in this context, we believe that the digital economy tools is the future and is the key. And COVID taught us that, digital economy is, COVID has accelerated this trend, and we are helping our entrepreneurs to embrace and learn how to use digital tools. So through, for example, e-commerce, we want to have them to be able to have this reach internationally. But also what is important is access to data, the information. So also we are investing on the market intelligence. We are developing some market scoping analysis, and South Africa and Kenya is one of those countries that we are targeting, but our approach is Pan-African. And also something that we have been talking with Bettina and team from UNEP is that we need to really do some analysis about the impact of the textile industry on the continent, and also what is the consequences on the environment and climate change, because there's no data about it. I believe there is some report from South Africa, but we have no understanding of the magnitude of the issue on the continent. That's something that with Bettina, we have been talking about this for long, and our being like-minded in this way, we're really pushing to find the resources to do this kind of analysis. And another area is that, of course, you need to privilege local content. We are not trying to push for mass production when it comes to sustainability, but we are trying to look at those niche brands that are already having sustainable models in practice and they need to be scaled up. So I know also, I believe that through the InTex project, that's also the vision. And we're going to collaborate with Bettina team to link with the access to finance component, that they need to be able to implement these sustainable businesses. Financiers, money is out there, but they need to see the value for money. They need to see the internal return and it has to be profitable. So we're going to work together with the UNEP to create this ecosystem for these sustainable entrepreneurs to thrive.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Emanuela. Now we've actually reached the end of the allocated time, but well, I see that we still have, and apologies for that, because well, that was my job to keep the time. But there's a lot to talk, and there's been certainly a lot of questions, and a lot of questions popping in through the chat. We will try to maybe address one or two of these questions, and then we will have to cut it short, unfortunately. So the first one that we have is from Donna, saying, how can we ensure that the change to circularity is truly inclusive of those communities who do not usually have a voice, such as workers and small-scale and artisanal farmers, miners, etc.? So I will ask, who is first to jump in? We cannot have like 7 or 8 different answers now because we're really short of time. But who would like to take this question? So how to include more those that usually do not have a voice? So maybe Josfat, as I have you in my screen right now.
It's okay. We in Kenya and maybe worldwide, we are looking at those who are disadvantaged. So like we try to look, most of the time we find that women, sometimes girls. So we in eco-innovation, we try to ensure that human resource is utilized to the best level. So we'll be working to ensure that there is dignity. And for every work that is being done in the textile industry, the people should be treated like human beings, whereby their human rights are respected. And there is something that they'll be getting that is a decent salary, not just being left that way and being used as if they are slaves. So in eco-innovation, we are ensuring that the human resource is utilized to the optimum level possible. Thank you.
Excellent. I think that was a very good answer. Thanks, Josfat. We have another quick question, perhaps, which I also find quite relevant and interesting. This comes from Newton, and it's specifically also for the implementing partners. So yeah, maybe we'll address this one to Leander and Noel. How will the project be sustainable after the life of the funding? So once this project finishes, how do we ensure that it will continue having an impact and an effect?
So in CEST, we will do our best to make InTex initiative replicated after the project through our organization and with the involvement of all partners, and with the capacity building of our internal experts in CEST. So we'll do the best to guarantee this perennisation of the activity.
Excellent. That's very promising. That's great. Leander, would you like to add something to that?
Yes, thank you, Jurgens. Well, I think we've been fortunate to have had some experience with eco-innovation, and that has allowed us to really think about ways that this initiative, especially focusing on eco-innovation, can be successful going forward. I think firstly, from a sectoral perspective, we have multiple initiatives running in the country, and I think again that has been driven a lot by our Department of Trade, Industry and Competition and the sector as a whole. So there's already a lot of linkages that can be made, not just to manufacturing, but also elements relating to recycling, and there's a lot of initiatives that we believe can be connected to the InTex project. that will be continuing after the duration of this project. Of course, capacity building and training is one of the areas that the NCPC has focused on for quite a number of years, but building capacity within the industry, within SMEs, and linking it with existing programs, as well as linking incentive schemes that is available, and of course focusing on the capacity around developing business models. In this case, introducing eco-innovation as a key approach to developing a business model for circularity. That is something that we've identified already in the onset as something that should be included in future plans for the project sustainability. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Leander. So now, I mean, we were still supposed to summarize, and I will do my best with the great support of the team in the back end. Unfortunately, we will not have the time to address more questions. People have started to disconnect, but it's great that you're mostly still keeping up there. So just maybe as a super quick summary, we see that the InTex work, and we're very happy to have you all here. With the work in this project, this is fitting into UNEP's work on building the case for adopting more systematically the value retention processes. So assessing how we can keep the value within the economy, as well also as continue to develop the business case for eco-innovation and to provide life cycle based and evidence-based approaches to help in decision making across the value chain, and particularly the textile value chain here. So the contributions, the great contributions from today's speakers show that collaboration is absolutely key. We've heard of many partners and all the different contributions that are required from across the value chain. So for that, we will need to ensure that there are these synergies happening in InTex. So please, for everybody, and not just for the partners, but reach out to us at unep.org/InTex. The website that you've seen through the presentations, and say also how you can contribute and how you will contribute. This will certainly be very important, particularly in the long-term sustainability of the project. So with that, and 10 minutes late almost, I thank you again so much, and thank all the panelists, all the participants for your great contributions today, for staying up with us until a bit late. And we look forward to staying in touch and collaborating with you in the future. Thank you.
Thank you. Au revoir. Bye-bye.
Au revoir. Bonne journée.
Thank you.
Have a great rest of the day.
Okay, guys. Thank you so much.
Merci.
Thank you.